Let's see. So how to correct poor energy levels. These are just very basic things I put in here. The next page it's 12 energy boosters. It's kind of cool because it talks about some emotional things and being around good friends and family and just other important things that aren't necessarily related to kind of all this boring stuff about glands and organs and stuff like that. But it's not necessarily just about taking nutrients and things like that. It's also having a good lifestyle with good friends and family and enjoying life and not being stressed out and having a good balanced life. So you can read over those on another time. But so some of the ways to correct poor energy levels. The first one I put on there is water. You read any of Batman Galige's book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water, You're Not Sick for Thirsty, he'll tell you that the #1 energy source in your body is water. It's your #1 source of energy. It's your #1 weight loss tool. Water, 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 water. You're dehydrated, you'll lose energy. You'll start to lack energy levels. There's a reason you can live for up to 90 days on only water. Okay? And it's your #1 energy source. You gotta have a way to get nutrients into the cells to make that fire, that spark happen that gives us energy. Exercise. We know what happens with exercise. A lot of us struggle to do it or do it on a consistent basis, but we know when we do it, it makes us feel better. And for some people, it's that that adrenaline rush, that runner's high, whatever you want to call it. But there's definitely hormones released and the increase of oxygen flow to the body. And I didn't really put that on here, but that kind of goes along with exercise, is the oxygen. You really want to increase your energy levels, oxygenate your body. Oxygenate your body. One of the best ways to do that, obviously, is exercise, but you can do that with deep breathing. You can do hyperbaric oxygen chambers, which I hope to have someday. They're kind of expensive. Tammy and myself, we've both kind of experimented with food-grade hydrogen peroxide. If anybody wants to know more about that, I can tell you, but you really got to know what you're doing. But you put that kind of oxygen in the body, and amazing things happen. Amazing things happen. I remember when I was doing my long cleanse, my 30-day cleanse, I was on like it was right around day 20. I was on like the 20th day of my cleanse, and I did a enema with the food-grade hydrogen peroxide. And oh my gosh, I felt like I could fly. It was crazy. I went and played volleyball that night. I swear I jumped like 3 times higher than I've ever jumped in my life. I was absolutely killing everybody. I didn't lose a game. I felt like superhuman. It was crazy. Just from all this oxygen that was in my body. It was the most amazing feeling ever. Now obviously we can't expect to have that kind of feeling all the time, but it was pretty awesome. And it just goes to show you what the body's capable of doing, if you put oxygen in the body. And there's ways to do that. There's products like Cell Food and the food-grade hydrogen peroxide and ways to oxygenate the body, but you got to know what you're doing. But consistent exercise is the best way to do that without going to any kind of extremes or anything like that. But oxygen, very powerful therapy. We've talked about ozone therapy in past classes. When a lot of athletes, when they get wounded, to speed their healing, they'll go into a hyperbaric oxygen chamber because the oxygen will speed their healing. Nourishing foods. Obviously, the foods that you put in your body have everything to do with whether you're going to have energy or not. The main things the obvious things to avoid are going to be the things like caffeine and the sugar and the artificial stimulants. That's going to keep your body from operating the way it's supposed to ideally. Things like greens, anything with chlorophyll in it, a high chlorophyll content. Chlorophyll captures the power of the sun. It's another great energy source. What's the source of all life? What's the biggest energy source we have in the universe? It's the sun. And you can get energy just from being in the sun. I talk about these things as they pop into my head, and I know they're kind of extreme sometimes, but I'm going to share it anyway. Have anybody heard of people called breatharians? You have? You have? Anybody else? No? Okay. It's interesting because there's people called breatharians. They literally live off of no food. Okay, there's one pretty famous one. His name's HRM, and you can look him up. He's got all kinds of videos on YouTube, and he'll drink a tea like once in a while or something, or maybe a glass of milk. But he's lived for I don't know how many years. Do you have any idea, HRM? Familiar with him? Anyway, I don't know how many years he's lived, but 30, 40 years without food. And he claims that the way he keeps his energy up and the way he's able to do this is from the sun, because the sun is the source of all life. The sun is the source of all energy. It is the original source of all energy on this planet. So that's how he gets his energy, is from the sun and from water. It's just fascinating. I mean, again, nobody's going to go to that extreme, but it's just fascinating to know that there's people that can do that the body's capable of doing that. And it shows the power, potential of energy that the sun has. Sleep and rest, cleansing and detoxifying, like we talked about with the colonics, cleansing the thyroid, and supplementing intelligently. And I put intelligently because so many people take so many poor synthetic nutrients. You definitely want to take the right type of nutrients. So I'm going to give you some of the ideas of the things that I take, that I do. If anybody else wants to share with what they've done for energy, anything that can help each other, that we can all learn from each other. I think two of the best sources of increasing energy levels immediately on the planet are bee products, bee pollen and royal jelly. Royal jelly, hands down. Royal jelly will stimulate your adrenals like boop. Very, very, very powerful substance. So those are two of my favorites. And they're both amazing because, we've heard about B vitamins. A lot of people will take, I better digress on that real quick, B vitamins. Because a lot of people are B vitamin deficient, so we're taking B vitamins for energy, for a boost, for a pick-me-up. I don't know if people know, but most of the B vitamins people are taking are synthetic. They're not from a food source. They'll give you an artificial stimulation, but the reason they give you a stimulation is for that exact reason. It's an artificial stimulation. It's a synthetic source. It's a lot higher quantity than it would be in any kind of a food, so of course you're going to get a jolt off of it. It's like people doing these B12 shots for energy. I mean, to me that's just crazy, because you're going to get a B12 shot every time you have low energy. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. But people are that desperate. People are that desperate to get energy. And all that does is create long-term imbalances. So, royal jelly and bee pollen, loaded with B vitamins. And one of the reasons it increases energy levels so well. Very stimulating for the adrenal glands and building for the adrenal glands. Complete protein. Protein is a very important source of, like we said, the liver producing, converting that into glucose to use as energy for the body. So all the things that the body needs for energy, bee pollen and royal jelly provide those. Let's see, did I give you a list of things? Oh, I put some things on there. Chlorella, any of your greens really. Chlorella, spirulina, all those are great for increased energy. A lot of people will feel it immediately, especially if you take a large amount, like a tablespoon of spirulina or chlorella, you'll really feel it. Maca is another one, it's great for energy levels. Also increases hormone levels, which will help with energy levels as well. A lot of men do have low energy levels because of maybe decreased testosterone. So maca will increase testosterone production. Those are the herbs that increase testosterone production. So they'll see an immediate increase in energy and sexual function. And then shilajit. I always like to talk about shilajit. But, minerals. When I get the audio clarity in, which is from black mica, which is a mineral source, we'll be talking about that a lot more. That's going to be really amazing stuff. But the shilajit, just the most comprehensive, I just think it's the most comprehensive supplement you can take. But I've noticed this is anybody here taking shilajit? Has anybody noticed anything from it?
I am not taking it regular, but I did notice the day I took it that I had more energy.
Okay.
So,
because people that take the tablespoon a day that I usually recommend feel it. Are you taking that much? Okay. I take it every morning before my workout, and if I'm a little tired when I get up and and I take it, I'm like, whoop, and I am ready to work out. I mean, it is that quick. Huh? Yeah. See the capsule, that'd be like 8 capsules.
I've only taken 3.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of capsules. That's why I like the powder better. But
I've got the powder too.
okay. And the other thing is that I want to talk a little bit about, because there's other things too. I mean, obviously you can take really good thyroid supplements, to boost and heal the thyroid, which is going to increase your energy. Adrenal supplements, like the one I have that I can't hardly even keep in is Adrenal Power, because it's got a 3 times concentrated royal jelly in it, along with some other herbs. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing how quickly and effectively it works for boosting the adrenals. So there's those kind of things you can take too to boost those glands. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about is Chinese tonic herbs. The Chinese system of medicine is basically designed for you to build up, they call it treasures, but to build up strength and energy in the body for the long term, for the long haul, so that you live a long, healthy life. To build up anti-aging and longevity, to keep yourself free of all illness, to keep yourself healthy into old age, like we've talked about a lot of these other cultures are doing. So they're not designed to have a stimulating effect on the body like the things we do, like the caffeine and the sugars and things like that. But what I've noticed, and I think other people have noticed who I've kind of turned them on to, is that you feel a difference. You feel a difference pretty quick when you start taking some of these Chinese tonic herbs. The Shilajit, it's not a Chinese tonic herb, it's an Ayurvedic herb, but some of the Chinese tonic herbs like astragalus, ashwagandha, polygonum, which is foti, jogulin, some of these herbs, like I said, their goal is to build your glands and organs slowly over the long term. But I notice a great feeling from them immediately, especially astragalus. Astragalus is great because they call it the advanced herb for beginners, because it's like a food. You can take large amounts of it, and you feel increased energy levels, steady energy levels throughout the day, but at the same time you're calm and relaxed on the inside. And that's one of the real things I've worked on with myself, is not just being energetic and hyper all the time, which is pretty easy for me, but having energy, but a controlled energy, but being very calm and relaxed and peaceful on the inside at the same time, which is exactly the concept behind Chinese medicine, to have that balance. And I think that's really powerful. And when you feel it and you experience it, it's an amazing, amazing feeling. Since we mentioned ashwagandha, I just want to say one more thing about ashwagandha that's really cool. Ashwagandha is the best Chinese tonic herb for the thyroid. We were talking about the thyroid. So if you want to take an herb for the thyroid, ashwagandha is awesome. Does anybody know what ashwagandha looks like when you dig it up? It looks like a person. It looks like a little man, little arms and legs. And that's really cool because it's a Chinese tonic herb. It builds the entire body, and it looks like a person. To me, that's just the coolest thing. It's kind of like we talked about in one class, we talked about the doctrine of signatures. You remember us talking about that? So it's the same concept. What things look like in nature is how it reflects on how it's going to be healing for the human body. They didn't have all the research tools we have these days back then. They had to rely on instinct and visuals and taste and smell, and actually rely on their instincts and their senses. So